Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pushing Buttons podcast. My name is Marks, and I am losing my mind from caffeine withdrawal. By the way, we give each other titles here, and that is very true. Well, Annie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Anniepoo, and I professionally judge high schoolers. I hate you. That sounds so bad.
This is where you elaborate so it doesn't sound that bad.
Well, what if I didn't want to? What if you just gave me a title that's self-explanatory? My title for you is self-explanatory. You're losing your mind from caffeine withdrawal.
Yeah, but I could elaborate upon that, upon which that I'm saying, oh, I want to cut coffee out of my life and drink 2.5 cups a day.
I used to compete in speech and debate in high school. I was a nerd. I was one of those nerds. I can say that because I was one of those nerds. But my coach from speech and debate is starting a new program for elementary and middle schoolers to get into speech and debate. And it's not super competitive. There are awards and they are competing, but they're not held to nearly the same standards as high schoolers are. So I got to go back and judge the first tournament that they did yesterday, and it was very cute. It's 3rd grade to 8th grade. I am an American, so I say 3rd to 8th. I know you Canadians say, what is it? Like, what?
3rd grade to 8th grade, yeah. What?
Grade 3, grade 8.
Oh, snap, you're right.
Yeah, Canadians don't use, like, I don't know what they're called. I don't know how you call that terminology, but instead of saying 3rd grade, you would say grade 3.
Yeah. It's like how you say the 4th of July versus we just say July 4th.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was very cute, and I am hopeful that these students will continue practicing. Some of them are like actually really great too. Something that made me laugh though, I posted about this on my personal Twitter. The younger students were doing topics on animals like sharks and turtles and hamsters, and then this kid about halfway through, he comes up to me to give his speech, and he's very energetic, had a really great speaking voice too, and it was confident. So in his very confident, loud speaking voice, he starts, "Why sugar is like drugs," and I was like, I couldn't hold it in. I started laughing, but I collected myself, but he spent a couple of minutes explaining why sugar is like drugs. And the entire time I'm thinking, is this okay for me to be like, should I say something?
Okay, so from my own public health background, you know what? This kid is onto something, is all I'm saying. There's a lot of weird things going on there. However, presenting that as a middle school speech, I'm not too sure that's right.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if I should say something, but I'm gonna judge him on things other than his topic right now.
Yeah.
That's
man. I'm also a little sad because I put high schoolers when it was actually middle schoolers. You judged middle schoolers, but
it's elementary school and middle schoolers. But
middle school, yes.
I did judge high school before esports and before pandemic. Like, I don't go back to judge. Like, most of the tournaments are on the weekends, so I can't do it because of esports conflicts. So if it wasn't for esports, I probably would be judging and coaching high school speech. So
one would argue that all of that time competing in speeches has led to this very moment where we're now on the podcast and you're speaking on a meeting. Very, very well prepared and definitely clear in every single point that you make here, right?
I will send this to my old coach and see what he thinks.
Fantastic. And just like that, all right, well, this is the Pushing Buttons podcast, Marks and Anniepoo. It's an esports slice of life themed type of thing where we just kind of talk about stuff related to esports and apparently speech competitions too. We're just really broadening our audience here. But we figured it would be kind of a fun thing to, okay, I say we, but actually Annie came up with this idea to talk about red flags in esports. And Annie, would you like to elaborate on maybe why you wanted to bring this up before we kind of hop into things?
Oh my gosh, yeah, there are so many red flags in esports, but no one ever talks about them really. Everybody talks about them behind closed doors. It's hard when you're starting out and you're like, something feels wrong here, but I don't know if it is wrong or if it's just me. Like, are my expectations too high? Well, my friend, I'm here to tell you, your expectations are not too high and there are plenty of red flags. So today we're going to go through a few things, few common things, few maybe not as common things that you might run into and discuss whether we as individuals consider them red flags. We're going to categorize them into 4 things. We have our green flags, which are, I think, self-explanatory. Those are like the go sign. It's okay. That's not a warning sign. The second one is a yellow flag. A yellow flag is something that is not quite a red flag. It could go either way. It might be just a miscommunication. It could be that someone is just learning in the same way that you are. And then we have our red flags. Red flags. Everybody knows about the red flags. It means don't go towards that thing. Like, try not to. But 4th is the double red flag, where it's definitely like, no matter what you do not head in that direction. That is a bad sign. Okay.
Yeah. It's also really funny because when I was first pitched this idea and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I just thought we were going to go with like, green, yellow, and red. And then as soon as we hopped in to record this, Eddie was just like, and we also have the double red flag. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're going for the extremes, I think. But I mean, of, just kind of working there.
In work, in relationships, in just any experience in general, you have red flags, but then there's also those experiences that are definitely more than just a red flag. Like, it just doesn't raise warning signs. It's a definitely do not go there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure that I have any double red flags. We'll find out.
Well, there's only one way to do this. And basically, we've got all of this pitched up. I think it's important to just kind of mention, we've been working as hired esports professionals, if you will, for just around a year and a little bit now. So that's this is just going to be based on our own experiences in coming into this scene. Obviously, some people might have different experiences, but we're also going to try and contextualize our answers as much as possible, just so you kind of understand where we're coming from and why we might be categorizing things as a green flag or a double red flag. And of course, I had to use that voice to say double red flag because it sounds scary, even when you read it, honestly.
Are you going to edit that into like some wrestling announcer microphone filter?
Did I tell you I once actually did a little intro for an amateur wrestling thing?
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Okay.
Seems like a story for another time. Yeah.
But I basically used that voice and it was fantastic. Okay. Anyways. All right. So esports red flags, and also 2 thanks to everybody who submitted these so that we have a little bit of stuff to discuss here. And to start things off here, one of my favorites is when people DM you, hey.
What can I do for you?
I don't know. What are you offering?
What do you mean, what am I offering? What are you messaging me for?
And this exact conversation has probably happened to many people who were looking for talent.
Maybe not verbatim, but similarly, yeah.
Yeah, because it's over text chat, so you don't get that call and response back. But there's definitely a lot of awkward silence where you're like, "What do I do here? Yeah. What are you messaging me about?" But yes, it is when somebody sends you a DM, you're looking for something, and they just say, "Hey." How would you categorize this, Andy?
Can I categorize this? Should we give our answers at the same time?
We could. Do you want to do that?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah. You count us down.
Right.
I have my answer.
I'll count us down. Okay. Hang on. I got to think about my answer.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll fill the time.
Okay.
Never mind. You can just cut this out, or you don't. Either way.
I'm leaving this all in. Okay. All right. I got my answer. Okay. On the count of 3. Ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Yellow.
Red flag. Oh, okay. All right. You go first.
I go first? Okay, well, I think that maybe I can convince you too to tone it down a little bit. I think it's a yellow flag because there are a lot of individuals who just like communicating is not their strong suit, right? You know, maybe they might just think, I can open this up with a hey. I just want to get into their inbox first. And then after they respond, that's when I'll, start the conversation a little more. So for those individuals, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a yellow flag. Do I think that is the correct way to message somebody? No, absolutely not. I think you should give all of the information up front and say, hey, I would love to work with you. I've got, I do this, this, and this, and I'm interested in this event and working together for it. But I also, not everybody is used to that, knows that that's important. So most of the time, I would give people benefit of the doubt.
This is actually really interesting because we came at this from a different perspective. You came at it in the sense that I am looking for talent or I am looking for somebody who is like interested in working with me for a particular project. Then someone just hits your inbox as like, hey, the way that I was seeing this one was you messaging somebody to try and get hired and writing, hey, instead of actually going forwards. And so the reason I put that as a red flag is for all of the exact same reasons that you said. If you really want to get that job, you need to be very upfront. Like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I saw that you made a post here. Here is all of my information. Not if you just write, hey, in my experience, you are not going to get hired at all. And so I think that you writing, hey, is like, that's not the move. And that's why I went for a red flag instead of an amber one.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're in agreement, though. I would say, too, like, if you're the person sending it, you are sending somebody a red flag. Well, if you're receiving it, it's like, you know what? Okay, if you are sending
You try to be positive.
Do not send people just, hey. Give the information up front. But if you're receiving, hey, please, have a bit of kindness. Maybe give them a chance.
And I think that this is one of the things that we talked about quite a few times on the podcast as well, is bringing a little bit of that professionalism into the esports space. I mean, if I'm just messaging Annie, I could just write, hey, and then Annie would probably be very confused and be like, well, what do you want? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And like, that's not like, oh no, this friendship is over. Everything is terrible. But if you are trying to apply for a job, you got to bring that professionalism because people want to see that, you're taking this seriously. And you're being a little bit more proactive too by giving them all the information. You're making their lives easier. And so it almost seems like a no-brainer that you would go out of your way in order to try and get a gig by being proactive in that sense, right? So if I message you, hey, you're not just going to end our friendship, right? That's
If you message me, hey, I would think that's a little bit out of character. What happened? What do you want? But the short answer, no, I will not be ending the friendship.
So this just reminded me too of literally last night as I was starting to get ready for bed. Annie messaged me and was just like, hey, I need your help with something. And I'm like, okay, sure, what's up? I waited an hour and I got no response. And I'm like, do I go to bed? Do I need help with something?
Sorry.
I don't know what's going on. I'm going to go to bed. So yeah, just make sure to follow up and be upfront with kind of what you wanted. I think things will be good.
It was for my caster reel.
Yes, because you are esports caster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the second point that I've got written down here is management not knowing their own tourney format. Okay, so let's do this again. At the same time, I'm going to count down from 3. Do you have your answer?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Red.
Green. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, you go first.
I guess I'm coming from it in the perspective that whoever is managing the tourney, I think of management as the TO or whoever the client is, right?
Okay.
The client should at the very least know the basics of their tournament format. They don't need to know about whether, who is going to make it to playoffs. They don't need to do pick'ems. They don't need to know the schedule down to a T, assuming that the management is the client and they've hired a tournament operator. I think that it's important, though, for people to communicate and have information out there in case somebody wants to know more. I also think, and this is separate, I think that management, whether you're the tournament organizer or you're a client, you should know the basics about your event, that being the tournament format, to at least have an understanding of your audience and of the players that are competing in your event. So that's why I think it's a red flag. And that's thinking about it as in like they're trying to hire you for something. Like if I come into a gig and I'm asking somebody like, oh, how many best of threes, if it's for Valorant, am I going to be expected to do today? And they're like, what's a best of three? Or I don't really know. I'm gonna be like, I don't know about this. Like, why don't you know? Why can't you tell me? That's where I'm thinking about it from.
Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. So when I think of management, right, I think of like the company that wants this to happen. I do think that it is a really good thing if the management is very involved with the process. They planned everything out. They're very into it. But personally, and maybe this is just because like I'm coming at this purely from the caster perspective, it doesn't make a huge difference for a caster if the management particularly knows what's going on. As long as some sort of tournament operator or like the people who are like working the tournament have an idea on what's going on, then I don't think that this is like, I should stay away from this. But
when you're at the grassroots level, the management is the tournament operator.
That's the differentiation. I think that I am making in my brain, where I'm thinking a lot more.
Oh, you're
a
big shot caster now. The client's different from the tournament operator.
I'm definitely not. I am 100% not. I don't think that is the case. But at the same time, if some really big esports org is hosting this tournament, right? And they're like, yeah, we're the ones putting this together. But they've completely hired like the tournament staff from another production company or something like that, right? Technically, it really does come down to like how you define management. But it would be great if the esports people knew kind of like their own, like what the tournament is and stuff like that going on. But at the same time, it's mostly the production company who is organizing the tournament and putting everything together and doing all of that type of stuff. I'm not sure if I'm using the right terminology here. So let me ask you
this then. Let's say management here refers to the TO, the people who are managing tournament operations, and the person who is trying to hire you doesn't know the tournament format. Is that still a green flag for you?
That's a red flag.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. It comes down to how you define management. Because I think that like at different levels, certain levels of knowledge are not as important. Mm-hmm. And also too, it depends on how big the tournament is. Like if I'm just going to pull a name of an org out at the top of my head. If Cloud9 is hosting like 1 million tournaments, right? And they just have this one small tournament happening for a local school or something like that. Yeah. And the people at Cloud9 don't know the format of that tournament. I don't think that means that you shouldn't work that tournament because, like, of course they don't know what's going on. And in this case, those people would be what I see as management versus the actual like people organizing the production and the tournament and all that type of stuff are at the grassroots, and they should definitely know what's going on in the tournament.
Okay, so in conclusion, if the people who are hiring you and that you are directly working with do not know what's going on, that is a red flag. However, if we refer to management as higher level executives, for example, that is perhaps it's more okay. Yeah. Probably better that they're not involved if they don't know
Super involved.
if they don't know too much about esports, maybe.
Oh boy, okay. Well,
That's not backed by a personal story, by the way.
Okay. Important differentiation.
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that one. Next, on to one of my... This one I am very excited to
I'm going to
discuss
spend a
with you.
while on this one.
Oh, we're going to spend a lot of time. Is unpaid labor a red flag? And this is going to be a tough one to answer just because I think at different levels there are different answers, right?
Should we give two answers then?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, can you give the prompt first, though? Did you say the prompt? Did I just space out? Did you ask, is unpaid labor a red flag? I spaced out?
I did. Yeah, you spaced out. I was like, I read that already.
No, okay. Okay. Let's talk about it from the two different perspectives of like grassroots, like tier 3-ish, the community in tier 3, and then on the higher level. I've never worked a tier 1 event at the production level. Oh yeah, I guess
Okay.
I've worked a tier 1 event, but not at a broadcast in a broadcast role.
Yes. Yeah.
But like community in tier 3, and then tier 2, tier 1.
Okay. So let's start with the grassroots level.
Okay.
Is unpaid labor a red flag? Let's say you're just kind of like starting to get a couple of paid gigs, all that type of stuff. Is unpaid labor a red flag? I'm going to repeat it one more time for you, just so in case you're spacing out, you hear the prompt. Is unpaid labor a red flag? Okay.
He's
all right.
speaking to me, not to you, the listener. Me. Okay, I'm ready. Count us down.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Yellow.
Green flag. Okay, interesting. You want me to go first? Because you went first last time.
Yeah, you go first. No, I'm gonna go first. I always complain about going first. This new Anniepoo owns going first. You're not allowed to go first. Is this a red flag?
It's a double.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I'm gonna keep doing it anyways. So I gave it a yellow question mark because I did say like community, grassroots, and tier 3-ish. And I think once you get to a point where recognizable names are playing, you should be getting paid for those events. However, I think most of the time it is a green flag because there's no funding, and a lot of these events are for fun and they're run by people who are just really passionate and want to share that passion and give opportunities. So that's where a lot of where I started was. That's how I got experience. And even now I don't take volunteer gigs now because I just don't have time. But I've thought about it. I've thought like, oh, what if once a month I just do like a community tournament just for fun, like for volunteer. I think that would be fun to do. So it's a yellow flag for me because there is a certain point even at a community or a tier 3 level where you should be getting paid, but in most cases it is what it is, and it's still fun. It's what you make out of it.
Yeah. And so the reason why I put a green flag is, like, to be honest with you, I still work unpaid gigs every now and then. And it is just because I'm just like, this seems like it would be fun. Or at the same time, I'm just like, oh, you know, I've been vaudevilling myself and I'm like, wow, I need to stop saying blank, 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 blank. I need to practice that. Don't really want to, like, you know, I want to sharpen up so that I look a bit better when it comes to some of those higher level gigs. And so I don't think that taking unpaid gigs is necessarily in itself a red flag, a yellow flag. I do think that it's a green flag because, like you said, at the grassroots, like, these people are just kind of doing it for the love of it. And that brings its own atmosphere into it, where I think that it's actually a lot of fun to kind of do that type of stuff because it's a lot less like, oh boy, like the big suits are watching. Okay, we need to make sure that we're like doing everything perfect. Like it's okay to make mistakes, and everybody's just kind of working together in a very kind of like cooperative environment almost on some of these more like volunteer based broadcasts. But at the same time, you're right. Like there is a certain point where it's like, okay, this is starting to be a little bit sus that, you know, I'm a little bit surprised that this isn't something that is paid. Also to understanding kind of the context behind a lot of these tournaments. You know, sometimes a little bit sus. And so I almost want to adjust mine to a yellow, just based on what you said as well, because...
Oh my gosh, I'm so convincing. I did do speech and debate.
Listen, you've convinced me. But it is true, because I do think that, especially too, when you get into that gray zone where you're in this weird, like... Well, it's not really a grassroots anymore, but it is pretty, like... It's not like, you know, like hundreds of people are watching it. Should I be really getting paid for this? But at the same time, like, I learned this from retail. You have to advocate for yourself, because if you just let yourself get pushed around, the managers, specifically at retail, I want to be clear about that. This is where I'm using this analogy from. The managers will expect the world out of you. And they know that they can push you that far. And they will continue to push and push and push and push until you draw the line and be like, I'm working triple overtime. I can't, like, I need to sleep. This is unreasonable of you to ask me. I kept on saying yes because I was making money and, like, I liked helping you out and stuff like that. But they'll push and push and push and push. And in the esports space, that's definitely a thing as well. People will push to try and save money across the board, just because at the end of the day, like when you get more into the business side of things, you know, it is business and there's money to consider here. And how do you save funding? You know, that is one of those ways. So you kind of have to stand up for yourself when you're in that gray zone, because it is very difficult to try and navigate through.
Yeah.
I know, such... If you had to grade me on my speech, how convincing was I there?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so the second part of it is moving into some of that like higher caliber stuff, which we kind of talked about already, but let's just put a label on it. You know, you're talking about tournaments that are very clearly, there's going to be a lot going on. This is a big production. Is unpaid labor a red flag? Count of three? 3, 2, 1.
A double red
flag.
Yeah.
That's why you put the double red here, huh?
That is why I put the double red here. That's why there needs to be a distinction.
Yeah. So I'll start us off here, because last time you very gallantly took it, but
I'm going to start us
control
off.
And just standing my ground against the bully that is known as Anniepoo.
I'm not bullied. I got bullied on a stream today, actually. I don't remember what they said, so maybe they didn't bully me, actually. But anyway, so I am going to take this opportunity of your silence to start us off. So
I just got trade rules.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so general rule, especially too once you start to break into the like higher echelon of tournaments, whatever that means to you, generally speaking, if there's going to be like pretty well-known players in said tournament, the tournament's getting a lot of exposure, it's run by a pretty reputable org as well, you should be looking to get paid. A lot of stuff that I had just said is still very applicable right now, in the sense that people will try and push you as far as they can go to try and get that for free. And quite frankly, that is just not okay in my books. You should be able to get the money that you kind of deserve.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that kind of I don't know that I have more to say about that. We can talk about wages separately, but in general, you should be getting paid, especially when it's those higher echelon tournaments.
Yeah, that's definitely different. And also, if they're offering you, when you get to a certain point and they're offering you like day rates in the triple digits, like in the hundreds, that is when you should probably also start asking for contracts. Like if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I would love for you to work this event. I can pay you $400 day rate. you should probably get a contract from them just to make sure that you do get paid for that event.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think
I was doing some washing. You want me to air out my dirty laundry? Or?
no. This is one of those if you know moments. I don't think we should elaborate more on that.
I don't think we should.
Okay, maybe sometimes a contract won't always protect you, but in most cases it will protect you and help you get paid out. So if somebody is dodging you and not giving you a contract for a valid reason, that is kind of a red flag, because it says to me, perhaps this organization is not able to give me a contract because despite having this random amount of money that they're supposedly able to pay me, they don't have the infrastructure to give contracts out. And that is part of the red flag here.
Just to speak from personal experience, especially having those contracts in front of you are very important. Even when you think about just like doing taxes, that helps a lot just in case people need to investigate or anything. But there are a lot... do people still know Fire Festival? Am I dating myself if I talk about Fire Festival?
No. If you don't know about Fire Festival, please look it up.
You could just read the quick Wikipedia summary on it, but there are a lot of people who will try and sell you on an idea without having the infrastructure in place. And I guess that kind of goes back to that second thing that we talked about, which was management not knowing their own tourney. They're trying to get you to work for them based on an idea. That's not money. That's not like anything, really. And you need to make sure that you're looking out for people like that, because we're in esports. It's the fastest growing industry. All this, excuse my language here, but all of these just random ass words that don't mean anything, to be completely honest with you. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, hold on.
Esports is the fastest growing industry does mean something. It does mean something. But it doesn't mean what you guys think it means. I fell for this too.
Yeah.
Esports is the fastest growing industry. You know what that means? Esports is startup culture. And lucky for me, I love startup culture. But you know what startups don't have? A lot of funding.
Yeah.
Tenure.
The banks crashed.
And history.
Yeah.
So it is a dangerous territory to go into. It is a very exciting one. It is the fastest growing industry, so you can see your impact directly made in the history books as it's going on. But if you don't have healthy boundaries, healthy communication, and expectations for yourself and others that you are working with to provide necessary infrastructure for evolution and growth of this industry, it will crash and burn. Such as what happened with Firefest.
Yeah. Like, once again...
which, by the way, is not an esports tournament. No. Firefest was a music festival. For those of you who don't know. But the same thing applies.
Yeah, it's a bunch of people. And this is the thing, too. Like, I think when you are figuring out this whole money business and stuff like that, and someone says, ooh, I can pay you an exposure. You're going to be a part of this grandiose thing that is just going to blossom into the biggest moment of your career and stuff like that. It's
crap.
That could be cool, but it also could be nothing. And I might just get it's a waste of my time. I'm not going to get my money, and I'm going to get Fire Festival. You have to kind of look out for these things, because there are some people who in the space who are just like, esports is quick money. They don't care necessarily about how things go. And then as a result, the people who are actually passionate about it get kind of lost in the
sauce.
Chaos. Yeah, lost in the sauce. There you go. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah. Also, to pay an exposure. Oh.
Has someone ever told you, we can't pay you, but you'll get a lot of good exposure from this?
Yeah. I've
verbatim, they told you you'll get exposure from this.
They didn't say exposure per se, but they're a lot of people will be watching this and da 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 da, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Sometimes it pays off. I'm not gonna lie. I've worked for exposure bucks. Do I think people
You
should?
have?
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't?
I didn't know that. Not that I can think of.
One of us is a sellout.
Maybe I'm just
It's
not
me,
being
I'm
offered the
the
right
sellout.
places. But
It's me, I'm the sellout. I mean, listen, sometimes it is worth it.
Mhm.
At the
Are you going to
community
elaborate
level.
on that? Okay.
Yeah, at the community level, or if you're doing a favor for a friend, like, I'll do favors for my friends all the time.
Okay. Yeah. I think that is different, though. Like, if this is like a professional organization company, you would be like, hey, you'll get exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it's
that's a
something I
little-
would normally get a contract for, I would not
Yeah.
do it. But, like, it's just, I'll do some stuff for exposure bucks. Sorry, that's...
Andy, you mean esports-related broadcasts?
Yeah, did I... Wait.
No,
What do you... Wait, I'm confused. That's what I thought we were talking about.
Yeah, that is what we're talking about. But also, too, like, there are other... You raise a good point there, too, because there are other factors that kind of, like, impact what gigs you kind of take. And we've talked about this before, but, hey, if I get to work with my friends... Heck yeah, I'm probably willing to, like, take either a lower amount than my normal day rate, or I would, like, not, like, it's fine, I can just do it for free, it's fine. Or, like, oh, this really cool person is going to be working on this broadcast. Would love to work with him. Cool, sign me up. All right, whatever, it's fine. So there are other factors that kind of play into this question a little bit, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You're
Glad we settled on that
mocking
one.
me. Okay. I'm sorry. I need to go on a tangent real quick. You're
Sure.
doing that thing. So Marks has called me out on a previous occasion. I do this thing a lot where, like, I want to make sure the person that I'm speaking to understands that I am taking... You're doing it right now.
No, this is me literally being affirmative to what you're saying.
I just want the other person to know that I am taking in what they're saying and listening to them. So I will nod and like I don't know how to explain this. I'll nod and like blink. It'll be like, yeah. And you'll just need to watch the video to like see what I'm talking about. Like, yeah. And so I've noticed, I don't know if you've always done this, but I noticed you do it to me, and sometimes you do it to me in a mocking way. So I always feel like you're mocking me when you're doing that now. And I've also noticed some people at work, because we started adding video camera to our meetings now. Other people at work are doing it back to me too. And I'm like, is everybody like, what? Are you guys all
I'm not
mocking me?
you. Yeah. No, there's a social... words are hard. See, there's a reason why I didn't enter any speech competitions and instead became a caster. But the whole thing is like, there's a sociology theory or something like that where you basically mimic actions back to the person unconsciously because, what do you call it? That is kind of like a... you want the other person to feel comfortable. And so that is probably what the work people have done. I'm not going to lie. I started out mocking you, but I do it all the time now. So you know what? I've been brought down into the mud. Yeah.
I'm bringing you down.
Okay, moving on. So number 4, we're going to be talking about now. So is this a green, yellow, or red, or double red flag when they have poo in their name? This is submitted on Twitter by @Anniepoo_ on Twitter. If
This
you are
wasn't on the list. This is so mean.
responded
It's
very
like-
quickly to the
Okay,
tweet
fine.
as soon as
Okay,
I
let's go. Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Double
Green flag.
Okay, I've thought about this multiple times.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm hijacking, answering first. But I've
Okay.
thought about this, like, why the first place that I've ever used the handle Anniepoo was in Genshin Impact. I made this username just for my Genshin Impact character, okay? Like, I was playing, this is pandemic, this is a COVID lockdown. I was in a call with my friend Jerome. Hi, Jerome. And he was really into Genshin Impact, and I was like, I want to play Genshin Impact too. So we both got into a call, and he was playing Genshin Impact, and I started playing Genshin Impact, and I was like, oh, I gotta name my character. What should I name my character? And I was like,
Poo is
Anniepoo.
funny. Yeah, there we go.
And since then, I was like, oh, Anniepoo is kind of a cute name. So let me use it for my Twitch channel too. And then after I used it for my Twitch channel, that's when I started getting into esports, right? And when I was getting into esports, I think my username was actually Tinky Winky, but without the vowels.
Okay.
And then I was like, I can't just run around calling myself Tinky Winky, but like my handle is Anniepoo. So I changed it to Anniepoo. And now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, why do people keep wanting to hire me if I have poo in my name? And as I'm like, thinking about establishing a business in the coming months, Anniepoo LLC, do I want this to be my business name for the rest of my life? I know it doesn't have to be the rest of my life, but then
you're going through an existential crisis. It's fine.
I just don't. I mean, guys, somebody give me advice. Is Anniepoo marketable?
I mean, hey, from our standpoint, it's worked out great. That's why I said green flag. So
I said double red as a meme. I don't actually think it's a double red.
It's fine. Okay, all right. But let's get back on topic here. So the next one,
I think that was extremely relevant.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it is definitely relevant. But at the same time, like, we are kind of running short on time. We have a couple more to get through, so I think we should go through that because I don't have an answer for you. Okay, sure. Let's do one more. Oh, both of these ones are pretty good, actually, and I hadn't thought about this a little bit.
Or we can just have an extra long episode. It's up to you. What do you want to edit? A 50-minute episode or a 1-hour episode?
We're doing the full hour. So the next one is the pay is $20 a day for a tournament with thousands of dollars in pricing. Is this, or what level of flag would this be for you? Okay. Do you have an answer?
I have an answer.
Okay.
Wait.
3.
No, I have an answer.
Are you sure? Going once?
Yeah. I'm sure.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Double red
yellow flag. Oh, okay. All right.
It's just, I mean, this is like for us personally, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first or should I go first?
This is usually the part where you just start talking, but I can start off if you want me to.
Well,
based on how these last ones have gone.
Well, in the beginning, you were cueing me in to go, and then I just kind of took over at some point.
Yeah, so
because I got used to it.
You're really throwing a lot of wrenches my way today.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll start out first. Oh no. Okay, so why I say that it is yellow. I think that there are a little bit of complications that could enter into why some of these tournaments have like higher prize pool levels versus how much their talent is being paid. Different contracts exist for different things. And on top of that too, I think that there is a little bit of, hey, depending on who you're working with and what this could do for you career-wise, sometimes it's okay to kind of hit the $20 a day. Is it weird? Most definitely, yeah. But at the same time, you have to kind of weigh different options. So it shouldn't be like an immediate like, oh, and I'm out. But I think that it should be something to take a little bit of a look into before you decide whether or not this is something that you want to do or something you don't want to do. That's why I go yellow.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a grown-ass working adult.
Okay. Are you implying I'm not?
No.
Okay. You hesitated?
I didn't think it could be interpreted that way. That's why I had to think about it.
Okay.
But I'm a grown-ass working adult. And once again, this is speaking from my own perspective. I also have a full-time job, right? Yeah. Marks also has a full-time job. But I thought you were going to come at it. Like, are you saying I also don't have a full-time job? Anyways, I have a full-time job. Thinking about $20 a day to work, like even a 4 to 6 hour event it just sounds like a headache for me. I can make that in less than an hour. I make that in less than an hour. I'm not going to spend my entire evening or an entire day out of my weekend when I could be resting to be part of this tournament. And also, I think it's a values thing. I think a person who is offering $20 a day for a tournament that's worth thousands of dollars in prizing does not have the same values as I do. And I think that's a deal breaker for me. I don't want to work with a person who is going to undervalue their talent like that. I would think that if you have that money available to you, why not take some of that money, have a slightly lower prize pool, and offer your talent perhaps even $100 a day? Would be so much more meaningful and says much more about how you value your talent than $20 a day.
That's interesting. You do make some good points there, I have to admit.
Am I convincing you?
Well,
would you like to change your answer?
The thing that I hadn't considered is, I've got a counter for you, so I'll get there in a second.
Oh,
but the thing that I hadn't considered was the character of the person working is like, I was going to use a very outdated meme, and I'm like, I don't think that's going to connect with the listeners, so I'm not going to use that meme.
I'm curious.
It was Scumbag Steve.
I don't know who.
You don't know Scumbag?
Is.
Oh, God. I'm going to the museum after this one. I hear they've made a display for me down at the ROM, so okay. I'll catch you there. But I'll be right beside Scumbag Steve. No, but the thing is like, yes, that is fair that like it isn't really, if their priority is not the talent, then I think that is something that you should take into consideration as well in making the decision on whether or not you do apply there. Because yeah, if they don't give a rat's butt about me, then I'm like, okay, well, why am I doing this? And if I'm not going to be working with anyone I know, like, much like you, I would rather sleep. Sleep would be fantastic. There are a million things I could do. Mm-hmm. I also work a full-time job as well. Mm-hmm. And the other side of that, though, is sometimes based on how things could go, they might just be offering that $20 day rate. But if it was like an in-person event and they're like, hey, we will pay for food and stuff like that, plus you only have to work like half a day and then you get free ticket access to the rest of the event, then I'd be like, okay, let's think about this a little bit more. Like, I'm not going to immediately say no, because I think at that point, the person who is hiring, they're not, like, they don't give a I'm going to swear, whatever. This is an explicit podcast. They don't give a shit about you. Well, they actually do kind of care about you. And maybe this is someone who I do want to kind of work with and get to know a little bit better. I think that it is very circumstantial as to what is going on. So I'm sticking with my guns here. It does require a little bit more understanding. Yeah.
Valid.
Thank you for validating me. Okay, on to the last one that we have here. This is the extra long episode. Turns out red flags is all it takes for us to get going for a really long time. But number 5 is you don't have a reel, You've practiced casting for a couple of like 10 mans and all of that type of stuff. And you are this is the caster being like, hey, I have casted 10 mans before. I don't have a reel put together, but I am interested in working this tournament. And you are the person who is looking at organizing talent and things like that.
So I'm asking for a caster, and this is the message I get.
Yes.
Okay.
So, count of 3. Do you have your answer?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yellow flag.
Is this the first time we've agreed on something?
No.
No, it was the double red flag. That means it was bad. That's a bad double red flag. Maybe we should go back, elevate that one to triple.
What
No, I think it deserves a double red. Okay, anyways, back to this one about I don't have a reel, but I've practiced casting.
So I'll start us out here. See, this is me doing an active job of communicating to you so you understand what is going on.
Green flag,
in
guys.
This podcast.
Green flag. Yes. I space out sometimes.
But it depends on the caliber of tournament that you are interested in, and I think it depends on the individual as well. Going back to like, this is somebody who's let's say that they're an individual who's very involved with whatever game you're kind of looking at. Let's just use Overwatch for an example. This is someone who's been like actively in the Overwatch scene for the longest time, since Overwatch 1, knows the game in and out, does a lot of content around Overwatch, but just doesn't cast, and is making the decision, hey, I'm interested in trying to learn how to cast. I haven't really done it professionally before, but I know the game really well. I've practiced with a couple of team members, and you're a tournament organizer who's organizing like a semi-sized tournament, but it's nothing like, it's not going to be like, oh my goodness, Overwatch League or anything like that. I would highly consider this individual because it's someone that could help bring more viewers in. They clearly care about what's going on, and quite frankly, it would just be a good experience. And this is someone who you would want to work with. Even though they are coming in there and they're just like, yeah, I don't have a reel or anything. There's still enough background there for you to kind of be like, okay, let's give this a shot.
Alternatively, what if they're a nobody?
This is also funny too. So for the audio listeners, my background is blue and his is red. And I just realized it's like, how you have the angel and the devil on your shoulder. I'm preaching the positive, and he's over there like, nobody cares about this individual. I think it still depends on the caliber of tournament that you're running. If it's just a grassroots thing, usually postings will just be like, hey, no experience required. Then not really a red flag. I would say it's more of a red flag if you're talking to this person and they just seem very strange, because you want to work with people that you know are going to be reliable, more so than not. So that is more of a red flag than someone not having a reel if you're just working on a grassroots type tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I've also recruited talent for grassroots and community tournaments where the pay was like fairly low, depending on how you look at it. By low I mean they were given like $50 for a day is what I mean by low for this community tournament. And there were a couple of people who they didn't have a reel to give me. But they did say like, I have some experience in another game, or I have experience just like I'm sorry, I'm a very high rank, and I know the game well, which is like, I'm not saying that
I have an anecdote, but continue.
I'm not saying that. Okay, what I want, I'm just gonna say it is like, just because you have a high rank doesn't mean you talk good. Okay, so if you come to me and you tell me I have a high rank in this game, that doesn't mean much to me. So I've asked these people like, hey, here's a link to a clean VOD. There's gameplay audio in this, but there's no casters. Can you cast one round? It doesn't matter what round. One round of your choice. Record it and send it to me as a demo. Like, send me a demo clip. And they have sent me a demo clip, and I listened to it, and I heard they were casting, and I said, this is perfect. I can give this person a chance. They don't have a lot of experience, but it seems like they have a lot of potential, so I'd like to bring them on. So, yellow flag. If you don't have a reel, but you're willing to provide an example of your work anyways, and a willingness to learn, and being honest about your experience and your skill level, that is going to make other people feel like very appreciative of you. So
can I say my funny anecdote? I think you know about it already, and I'm gonna be very general about it because I don't want to nail this down to any specific thing. But so last year I was working an in-person event. We wrapped up at the end of the day. I did the finals and all of that type of stuff. It was a great time. Someone came up to me and was just like, "Oh, hey, like, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you, man." And they started talking to me, and the gist of it was that they moved to North America recently to get big in esports, was immortal in Valorant because it was a Valorant tournament, then proceeded to ask me what my rank was, and I was like, oh, like, just to be completely honest with you, I don't play that much, but like, I'm silver in the game. And this individual then went ahead to explain to me how they were more knowledgeable than me in Valorant, and they should have my job.
I don't think you did tell me about this.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, man. I'll catch you later. I was also really tired, and like, because I had been working for like 6 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
sounds good, man. And I kind of like walked away from that. And sure, your rank can show that you kind of know things, but I think it's more of it's a character thing. And like you said, being very skilled at clicking heads doesn't necessarily translate to talking well, being able to bounce off people well. Like, quite frankly, in my experience, people who come in with that mentality that, like, I am a high rank, I know my stuff better than you do, they don't do well with hearing someone else's voice. And it just makes the experience not fun for everybody, because at the same time, like, the reason why you go back and forth with the co-caster is so you can take a little bit of a mental reset to collect your own thoughts and spend a little bit more time looking at things that are going on before you come in, so you're not just like burning yourself out over the entirety of a map. Mm-hmm. And so there are other skills that come into it than just being good at the pew pew, you know?
Yeah. But if you are a high rank in whatever game that you want to cast for or expand into, use that as an asset. Don't make it like your primary selling point. You shouldn't just walk into places and say, I'm Radiant 406 or something, and say, I would like to cast this event. Use, like, it's part of your skill set. It's not your entire personality, is what is how you should go into it. Like, use that knowledge. Use that knowledge from being high rank, but also remember to cultivate the other skills that you will primarily be using, which is to provide entertainment to the people who are watching the match.
Yep. You got to be funny. Or at least, like, interesting.
You're not that funny or interesting. I'm sorry, that's mean.
Is that a red flag?
That I'm saying this to you?
Yeah. Is this business relationship a toxic business relationship?
I would put up a poll, but I was informed recently that are we getting in trouble?
What are we doing? Just say
that,
it.
Like, our boy Muskie is gonna make Twitter polls for verified accounts only, which you have to pay for. So I would run a poll, but it seems like I can't.
We need to actually talk about this once we stop recording, because this has implications for our Twitter account.
What do you mean?
We'll talk about that afterwards. It's fine, because we're not going to be on the For You page anymore. It's only going to be people who are on the following tab, and so we have to figure out what that means for us using Twitter.
Do you own pushing buttons, or do I own pushing buttons for tax-related purposes?
Okay, that's a discussion we're gonna have off.
Are we getting? I feel like we're getting divorced.
Quick, I need to call my cousin. He finished law school.
Do you get the house, or do I get the house? Anyway,
I'm drawing a line in the house, and if you step one thing over the line, then it's mine.
Okay, whatever.
Okay. All right. So to wrap this all up and put a nice little bow on it, would you take a gig that raises red flags?
Ooh. Okay, we're going 3, 2, 1 it, right?
We're going to 3, 2, 1? Okay. Wait, let me think about this first. Okay, I think I know my answer. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
No.
Yeah.
I almost changed my answer at the end. I almost did. I thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, okay. What I came to my own conclusion with is I have taken many gigs with red flags previously, but at the same time, that was very important for me to understand my part in the space, first of all, but also too, it really did help me actually solidify like my casting career in the esports space. So I think that, like, obviously there's red flags for me that I'm like, never again. I'm sorry, I just can't do that anymore. But some of the stuff that we have discussed, I would be still open to thinking about things, and I'm not just immediately like, and I'm out of here, even if these would be considered one of our like red flags, you know? Your turn.
Yeah, I'm tired. That's the answer. I don't have time for these red flags. If there's a red flag, I just don't. I would rather invest my energy at this point into something else. That something else perhaps being another, I don't know, just relaxing, playing video games, or my full-time job, for example. Do have a full-time job that I really value and that I want to like learn a lot from. So I would rather invest time into that instead and refresh myself so I have time to learn new skill sets and stuff. I'm not really, it's boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing to take away from my experience, it's that the struggle is real.
From working red flag events?
Well, I think that the fact that we have to think about it in itself is kind of not right. You know, like it should be a pretty case and closed shut where it's like, well, if it's a red flag, yeah, you stay away.
Yeah.
But freelancing in esports is tough, man.
It is, yeah.
I think that's the reason why, like, the fact that we have to think about it should demonstrate that pretty nicely, in my opinion.
And also, I mean, unfortunately, this is similar to you as well, of why you said, yes, I would work a red flag then. I mean, I have, too. We all have. Everybody who works in esports has or currently is working a red flag gig.
This very second, someone's working a red flag gig.
At this
Text
time.
your friends right now. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Make sure they're okay. Yeah.
Okay with these nuts in your mouth? Sorry.
You're sending this to your old coach, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's I would say I would go back to, if I go back in time to when I started in esports and stuff, I would still work those red flag events. I would do everything that I did all over again, if I'm going to be honest, exactly the way that I did them, because it worked out. It did give me exposure bucks and experience and all of those things that those red flag TOs tell you that they give you. They do give you that, I will say.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you do have to start saying no to the red flag.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I mean, to be completely honest with you, my career as it is right now is literally because of the exposure bucks, but also too, I think that was because I was in a red flag situation that I wasn't even aware of at the time. But the exposure bucks, they are worth something, you know, like it does help. It does help to a certain degree. But yeah. All right. That's our episode on red flags. Wow, we did it. We talked about all the red flags out there in esports. Just kidding. There are so many more. But hopefully that this was a little bit of an enlightening discussion from our own perspective. You know what? Hey, if the blue checkmark thing happened already, still make sure to follow us on Twitter at PushButtonsPod and let us know any red flags that you think we should have addressed, or if you have any ideas about some of the things that we discussed, then let us know, whether or not that's on the YouTube comments section, on Twitter, any sort of platform there, because hey, at the same time, this is helping to inform us. It's almost like we're gathering like a bank of like red flags, you know, just so that people are aware, because otherwise people are not aware. But
Pushing Buttons, the quarterly red flag episode.
Oh, we're doing this quarterly now? Gotcha. But all right, that finishes up this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave ratings, all that fun stuff that helps us on the algorithms. Twitter is going to be interesting, like we've kind of talked about before, but once again, please follow us there. And you can see who wins the divorce settlement. Hell yeah. But otherwise, yeah, that just about wraps it up.
You can have the house if I get the kids.
Fine. I guess that's a worthy trade.
You get pushing buttons, I take all the fans.
Wait a second. I was like, hold on a second. Did I understand this analogy properly? I was like, were the kids and I was like, I don't think I understand this. I shouldn't have agreed to it. That's a red flag. But don't agree to anything if you don't understand it. But that's going to be the end of this super long red flag episode. Annie, do you have any final thoughts to close this out?
I got a new keyboard, guys. It's red, just like all of these red flags. Look, oh wait, some of you guys can't look because you're listening, but so it's a pretty red keyboard. It's light pink.
Can you click some buttons so that we can hear it in the audio? Just hit that space bar. Oh, that's the stuff. Somewhere, some ASMR person was just like, whoa, whoa, didn't see that one coming in the podcast. But, all right, that just about wraps things up here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, everyone.